I'm Karen Burtness-Prock, coordinator of San Francisco Opera Guild's preview series. Each opera preview features a well-known opera expert who provides an in-depth look at an opera the week before it opens. We hold 7 opera previews each year, 5 in the fall and 2 in the summer, choosing a mixture of well-known operas, world premieres, and operas which rarely see the stage. Opera previews are held all over the Bay Area and are sponsored by regional Opera Guild chapters in Marin, the Peninsula, the East Bay, San Francisco, and by San Jose Opera Guild. Previews have been held every year since the late 1960s. What makes a preview? All previews consist of a generous 90 minutes to explore each work, enough time to review the plot, enjoy some great music, take a peek at the specific production involved, and still gain new, in-depth insights. Beyond these basics, however, previews are as different as the speakers themselves. Musicologists and music historians, theater directors, actors, feminists, singers, conductors, and teachers. Some previews dissect step by step what makes a specific opera work. Sometimes we look at how a work affected those who first performed it, who first saw it, or who first wrote about it. What did the critics think of Handel's singers? Is the magic flute just a crazy story, or could it reflect reactions to the end of Joseph II's liberal policies? How does music create character? Why is operatic history different from the history in our history books? The only blueprints, really, are curiosity, a sense of humor, and a sense of adventure, and lots of great music. Come learn with us. We are very excited about our roster of speakers in the 2015-16 season. First, UC Berkeley's Dr. Marianne Smart, an active Verdi scholar, comes to speak on Louisa Miller. Her recently published book questions whether Italian opera was seen in the 19th century itself as central to the cause of Italian independence. Lately, she's been researching the work of Friedrich Schiller, whose play Kabale und Liebe loosely inspired the plot of Verdi's passionate Louisa Miller. Next up, with Sweeney Todd, is director, author, actor, and professor Dr. Simon Williams of UC Santa Barbara. Dr. Williams' busy teaching schedule includes annual appearances as featured speaker at the delightful Opera of Oakhurst seminars, with talks this year that embrace both Shakespeare and a wide range of Shakespearean operas. Dr. Williams promises to ease us into Sweeney Todd's London with some choice excerpts from Charles Dickens. Musicologist and music program coordinator at University of San Francisco, Dr. Alexandra Amati-Camperi, an Italian Renaissance specialist, is absorbed in her study of the way women are treated in opera, using selected settings of the Orpheus myth as an entry point. She's here to say a bit about her preview of Lucia Di Lammermoor. For Wagner's soul comedy, The Captivating Die Meistersinger, we will hear Dr. Derek Katz of UC Santa Barbara. Dr. Katz's wide range of musical enthusiasms has encouraged us to offer him a variety of preview subjects over the years, from Rigoletto to Susanna. Dr. Timothy Flynn, a specialist in late 19th century French operas, is already digging eagerly into the scores of both Claude Debussy's and Gordon Geddes' Usher operas, which take very different approaches to Edgar Allan Poe's short story. Dr. Flynn is an organist, composer, choir director, and department chair at Olivet College, Michigan.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Amati-Camperi. I'm a musicologist, and I will be telling you a little bit about Donizetti's opera Lucia Di Lammermoor from 1835, which is loosely based on a Scott novel. So the central scene of Lucia Di Lammermoor is most certainly the mad scene, which is probably the most famous scene of the opera, but it's also one of the most famous mad scenes in history. And so the mad scene is like a sleepwalking scene, a scene of altered consciousness. And the point of it is that because you're either mad or you're sleeping, you can go from one emotion to the next, opposing or not opposing, without having to explain how you got there. and without having to have any solution of continuity. And of course, it's also a way in which usually a soprano can showcase everything and anything she can do. Until about 1820 or so, it was a feature of comic opera because, of course, either acting mad or being mad was a way to get into hilarious situations or to get out of sticky situations. Once we get to the 1820s, it becomes a feature of serious opera, especially with Donizetti. And the heroine, of course, of Lucia does go mad because she's forced by her brother Enrico to marry Arturo because of a family feud instead of the person she has promised herself to, Edgardo. And so she goes mad. And on her wedding night, she kills Arturo in their wedding bed and then descends into the great hall, all bloodied, and proceeds to sing her mad scene. Part of the reason of the mad scene, of course, is to keep the fourth wall there, because since the character, we can believe that the character has gone mad, and so the character can be happy and then sad and then hysterical and then depressed and then blissful and everything in between without having to explain how he got there. If it wasn't a crazy character or someone sleeping, you would see through the fourth wall and understand that it was the singer showing off rather than the character. Of course, these are bravura pieces. They are supposed to showcase the singer, and some of the embellishments are purely decorative, but then again, we are in the bel canto era, so we understand why that would be there. The mad scene is a set of short sections that follow each other, of course, without having to explain how you got there, each with its own mood and emotion. So, for example, at one point, Lucia dreams or thinks or hallucinates that she's in church marrying with Edgardo. So she has this beautiful, blissful, lyrical scene. Then she thinks she hears Arturo's name. And so she starts a scene with full fear and heartbreak. And then she thinks she sees Edgardo and she has to justify herself for signing the marriage contract. And so then she's begging and she is mournful and she's sad and everything without having even to complete the scene, because in the middle of one, she goes over to another one. And of course, again, this is really to showcase everything you can do as a singer. The mad scene is, of course, incredibly demanding, both technically and artistically, because, of course, technically you showcase everything you can do. Artistically, you have to make people believe that you really believe you're in heaven, or you're scared, or you don't know what to do. So, in other words, the mad scene is really a container for anything that the composer wants to showcase and for any kind of emotion. And for the spectator is wonderful because you get to see all of these things in a row and really hear wonderful singing if it's well done. The reason it's usually done in a hall with a chorus or other spectators is also because, well, first of all, because there is a fourth wall, we have to imagine a scene, but also the chorus is providing the scale of normality against which we can measure the madness of the character. So again, it's really serious stuff. It's not comical like it was in Handel or Mozart. They all have mad scenes or pretend mad scenes, for example, to get out of a sticky situation. In this case, it's really, really serious. She has gone insane, whether temporarily or for good, it's not said. And we have the chorus commenting so that we know that she really is mad. So it's a wonderful container for fantastic singing as well as for exploration of all sorts of emotions.
In the summer of 2016, famed musicologist Dr. Richard Taruskin returns to discuss one of his favorite operas, Janáček's Jenůfa. A much-published, internationally renowned scholar, Dr. Taruskin should be a genial guide to Jenůfa's musical, dramatic, and emotional complexities. We're lucky that San Francisco Opera's dramaturg, Dr. Kip Cranach, agreed to become one of our speakers when he retired as Director of Music Administration. His wonderful first lecture introduced us to Marco Tutino's war-haunted world premiere, Two Women. War, both private and public, also haunts the characters of Verdi's magnificent Don Carlo, one of Dr. Cranach's favorite operas. He's here to tell us about it himself.
Hi, I'm Kip Cranach. I'm the dramaturg at San Francisco Opera, and I'm very pleased that the San Francisco Opera Guild has asked me to do the preview lectures for Verdi's opera Don Carlo, which will be performed in June of 2016. Don Carlo was one of my favorite operas and certainly one of the great Verdi operas. It actually began its life as a French grand opera written for Paris, Don Carlos. Verdi later reworked it into a smaller, shorter Italian opera, 4 acts, and then still later it was expanded again into 5 acts in Italian. And that's the version, that 5-act Italian version, that we'll be seeing here in San Francisco this season. As you might expect, it has plenty of pageantry and spectacle, with grand choral scenes and beautiful dancing, but it also has intense personal drama as well. An unhappy prince who's in love with his stepmother, kind of a story right out of Greek tragedy. An unhappy king who's coping not only with his rebellious son, but with a wife who doesn't love him. And all this takes place against the historical background of the Spanish Inquisition in the 16th century. This was a time when Catholic Spain was persecuting Protestants in the Netherlands, which was a Spanish possession at the time. So we'll look at that historical background, at some of these fascinating characters, the Spanish Habsburgs, and we'll see how they come off the pages of history and onto the operatic stage. We'll look at some video from the opera, including the famous Veil song, of course, and also the auto da fe, as it's called. That's a scene with the ritual burning of heretics, very operatic. And my favorite scene, the great confrontation between 2 dramatic bases, King Philip II of Spain and the Grand Inquisitor. There'll be lots to talk about regarding Don Carlo next June, and I hope you'll be there when I do that.